Men, listen carefully. If you walk through life blind to the truths I'm about to reveal, you will be played again and again. Not because women are cruel, but because you never learned how to read the hidden map behind their behavior. Think of it like this. Every woman carries a labyrinth inside her. Most men rush in without a torch, lost, panicked, running in circles. But a few men, they walk with calm steps, holding the light. They don't chase the exit. They become the center. And in that calm, the entire maze bends toward them. This isn't about tricks. This is about power. The silent kind that makes her lean closer even when she swears she won't. Today, I'm giving you 9 female weaknesses every man must understand. Some will sting, some will flip your perspective upside down. And the last one, number 1, will change how you walk into every relationship from this day forward. So stay with me as we count down from 9 to 1. And remember this phrase, it's more than words. It's a weapon of stillness. Her chaos dies in your calm. 9. Confidence that doesn't beg for approval. Most men believe confidence means performing louder, proving faster, explaining harder. But here's the truth. Every word you pile on weakens you. Confidence doesn't grow by addition, it grows by subtraction. Women don't fall for noise. They lean into presence. It isn't the man who floods the room with talk who stays in memory. It's the one who can sit in silence, rooted, breathing freely without asking permission. And yet, most men overdo it. They overshare, overpromise, overgive, like desperate salesmen chasing a customer. It's almost laughable, this marketplace of male approval. I used to be the worst at this, throwing words like confetti just to look impressive. All I did was make a mess. But attraction isn't a clearance sale. The paradox is simple. The more you chase, the less safe she feels. If you can't anchor yourself, how can she ever lean on you? Here's the twist. Confidence is not the absence of fear. It's carrying fear calmly, without apology, without theatrics. That's the kind of confidence that disarms. A quiet presence that doesn't collapse, doesn't scramble, doesn't beg. I once watched a man on a date. She tested him. She fell silent, scrolled her phone, leaned away. Most men would have panicked, rushed into jokes, begged for her attention. But he didn't. He sipped his drink, steady, unshaken. 10 minutes later, she was leaning toward him, smiling without knowing why. That's presence. That's confidence without permission. Think of it like a fire. Insecure men wave flames around to prove they're burning. But real strength is the hearth. Contained, steady, radiating heat without noise. That's the warmth women lean toward. Here's a question that cuts deeper. Are you a man who anchors or a man who auditions? Practice this. The next time you feel the urge to explain yourself into worth, stop, breathe. Let the silence stretch 3 beats. Feel the discomfort, but don't break it. That pause is where power grows. Because in the end, confidence isn't a show. It's the refusal to flinch. And when you master that refusal, the storm shifts. Her voice softens, her noise fades, her chaos bends when you refuse to flinch. 8. Being understood without explaining everything. One of the deepest wounds a woman carries is exhaustion. Not the kind cured by sleep, but the heavy fatigue of explaining herself to people who never intended to listen. Years of defending, clarifying, repeating, only to be told she's too emotional, too complicated, too much. Most men fail here not out of cruelty but distraction. They're busy scripting a reply, crafting a fix, running from the discomfort of silence. Some turn into walking search bars, spitting out instant answers no one asked for. But she doesn't need a search engine. She needs presence. And presence is the one thing most men can't hold. Here's the paradox. The man who pauses, who doesn't demand clarity, who simply notices, he becomes unforgettable. He doesn't interrogate. He doesn't pry. He feels, he observes, and in that calm observation, her guard begins to fall. When I was younger, I dated a woman who carried storms behind her smile. One night as we walked, she grew quiet. Her steps slowed, her eyes turned distant. I asked what was wrong. She shook her head. I pressed again, thinking love meant persistence. But the harder I pushed, the colder she grew. She didn't need my interrogation. She needed space, a steady presence where her silence could breathe. Years later, I understood. I lost her not because I didn't care, but because I couldn't sit still long enough for her to open on her own. Think of it like music. The notes you play matter, but it's the silence between them that carries the soul. Presence is the same. She feels the weight of what you don't say more than the flood of what you do. Most men believe understanding comes from information. That's the lie. Real understanding comes from seeing without pressing, from holding space without shrinking. Practice this. The next time someone you love goes silent, resist the itch to fix it. Match their pace. Sit with them. Let your calm patience do what your words never could. And here's the call that cuts deep. Are you really listening, or are you just waiting for your turn to speak? Because in the end, words may persuade for a moment, but presence transforms for a lifetime. The man who can witness without demanding is rare. He is remembered. 7. The power of masculine silence. Most men in silence look like deer caught in headlights, frozen, blinking, waiting for impact. The truth? When emotions rise, they panic. They fill the air with arguments, justifications, noise, anything to escape the weight of quiet. But silence isn't losing. Silence, when carried right, is winning, because noise rarely fixes anything. It only proves one thing, that you cannot hold pressure. True silence is different. It isn't retreat. It's presence. It's breathing while the storm rages. It's anchoring instead of reacting. And when you learn that kind of silence, you don't lose power, you multiply it. I once saw a father with his teenage daughter. She was furious, slamming doors, shouting that no one understood her. Most fathers would have shouted back, but he didn't. He sat quietly on the couch, calm, steady, waiting. Minutes passed, her voice cracked, her anger softened. Finally, she sat beside him and cried. He never raised his voice. He never rushed to fix. His silence said everything. I'm here. You are safe. That one act of stillness did what hours of arguing could never do. That is the essence of masculine silence. It doesn't abandon, it anchors. It doesn't punish, it protects. It isn't about controlling her emotions. It's about mastering your own, so hers can finally breathe. Think of it like a mountain. Winds howl, storms crash, seasons shift, yet the mountain stands. That's the presence women, children, colleagues all lean toward. Not the man who panics, but the one who remains unmoved. Seneca once said, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." Practice this. The next time conflict rises, stop yourself from speaking first. Breathe, count slowly to 3. In those 3 seconds, you decide whether your silence will be a wound or a shelter. So ask yourself, when you go quiet, do people feel abandoned or do they feel safe? True masculinity doesn't prove itself in arguments. It proves itself in composure, and when you master that composure, the storm bends, the noise fades, and in that quiet strength, respect grows without a word. 6. Eye contact that doesn't flinch. There is a language older than speech, carried not in sound but in the eyes. You felt it before, the moment someone looks straight into you and you can't look away. The steadiness that unsettles, the calm that pulls you closer without a single word spoken. Most men avoid it. They glance aside, fidget, or laugh nervously to mask the crack in their composure. Honestly, most men break eye contact faster than a weak signal drops in a crowded cafe. That's why the rare man who holds steady becomes unforgettable. Because the eyes reveal what words try to hide. And a single flicker of doubt in your gaze can undo an entire performance. Women feel it instantly. I've seen this power up close. A close friend of mine met his girlfriend during our university years. He was broke, nothing glamorous, no spotlight to hide behind. And yet she told me years later what drew her wasn't money, charm, or wit. It was his eyes. She said, when he looked at me, he didn't look away. Not once. He wasn't trying to impress. His gaze said, I see you, all of you. That's when I knew. Decades have passed and they're still together. His eyes spoke a truth words could never match. That is the secret. Eye contact isn't about intimidation or seduction. It's about mastery of self. A steady gaze says, I am here. I am enough. I don't need to chase. I don't need to hide. Think of it like a lighthouse. It doesn't run towards ships or beg for attention. It stands firm, piercing through fog, and vessels orient themselves by its light. Your gaze can be that lighthouse, anchored, unshaken, impossible to ignore. And if you're still here, it means you're not like most men. You're willing to face truths they'd rather ignore. If this resonates with you, pause. Hit like right now, not for me, but as proof you're building this presence. Practice this. In your next conversation, when someone speaks, hold their gaze 1 second longer than comfort allows. Not as performance, not as a trick, but as a signal of calm. Watch what happens. Some will soften, some will fidget, but all will feel the pull of that steadiness. So ask yourself, when someone looks into your eyes, do they see you shrinking away, or do they feel you standing still? Because at the end of the day, clever lines fade, charm is forgotten. But the gaze that doesn't flinch leaves an imprint. When you hold it, her defenses soften, her storm pauses, and her chaos bends toward you. Her storm quiets in your stillness. 5. Mystery through depth, not disappearance. Most men get mystery all wrong. They think it means pulling back, vanishing, playing hard to get. Back then, I thought mystery meant disappearing. Truth is, I was just broke and hiding in my room, hardly James Bond. But absence doesn't make you magnetic, it makes you forgettable. Disappearing isn't depth, it's emptiness. Real mystery is different. It isn't about hiding, it's about richness. When you are so full within yourself, others lean in, not because you're withholding, but because they sense layers beneath the surface. When I first met Elena, I had nothing impressive, no status, no wealth, nothing shiny to hold up as proof. Years later, she told me what drew her wasn't my words or any performance. I still remember that evening. Her eyes lingered on mine outside Kai's workshop, the world around us fading. Mystery lived in that silence. She said, "You didn't try to impress me. You didn't flood me with noise. But when you did speak, it felt like you were opening a door into another world." That stayed with me. Mystery wasn't in avoiding her. It was in speaking with weight, choosing words that mattered, and letting silence hold the rest. Women sense this instantly. They're not drawn to the man who dumps his whole resume in one conversation. They're drawn to the man who reveals slowly, like chapters worth turning. The man whose silence makes her curious, not anxious. Think of it like a book. If every secret spills on the first page, there's no reason to keep reading. But when each chapter adds tension, pause, presence, you can't put it down. You become that book. And here's a gift for you, because mystery isn't just about what you hold back. It's about what you hold steady when emotions rise. 5 pocket phrases for when she's upset. I'm here. Take your time. I don't need the perfect answer right now. I just want to sit with you. Your feelings matter, even if I don't fully understand yet. We don't have to fix this tonight. What matters is you feel I'm steady. I won't push. I'll be here when you're ready. Most men panic when she's angry. They defend, explain, or withdraw. But these phrases do the opposite. They create space, not pressure. They show presence instead of fear. Use even one and watch tension soften. Practice this. The next time you feel the urge to overshare, just to feel seen, stop. Share one meaningful truth. Then let silence do the rest. That pause is where your depth grows. So ask yourself, are you vanishing out of fear, or are you standing rich with intention? Because mystery isn't absence. It isn't manipulation. It's depth that invites discovery. And when you live that way, you don't chase curiosity, it comes to you. 4. Purpose versus passion. Passion burns bright. It dazzles, it electrifies, it makes you feel alive in a flash. But passion without direction always burns out. Purpose is different. Purpose is the quiet current that carries you when applause stops, when excitement dies, when no one is watching. Most men confuse the two. They mistake excitement for substance. They talk loudly about dreams, chase every shiny spark, live for the next thrill. It's like a gym membership in January, fired up for 2 weeks, forgotten by February. And yes, women may be drawn to the heat for a moment, but heat without structure feels like chaos. It doesn't build trust. It doesn't build safety. I had a friend who played baseball in college. He wasn't the strongest hitter, not the fastest runner, just another ordinary guy off the field. But during every game, he carried fire. He threw himself into every play, shouted encouragement, refused to quit even when the score was hopeless. And in the stands, there was always one woman watching. At first, she was captivated by his passion, but what made her stay was what came after, the way he turned that fire into direction. Years later, he built a life of discipline and clarity beyond the field. That same woman became his wife. She wasn't drawn only to his passion. She trusted his purpose. That's the difference. Passion is the spark. Purpose is the hearth that keeps the fire alive through winter. And here's the hope most men miss. Purpose doesn't ask you to be extraordinary. It only asks you to be consistent. Even the smallest daily step, repeated, can outlast the loudest burst of passion. Passion burns fast for attention. Purpose burns steady with discipline. Most will scroll past this, chasing the next quick thrill. But not you. You're still here, steady, listening. Think of it like a river. Passion is the sudden flood, loud, wild, uncontrollable. Purpose is the steady current that carves valleys, shapes landscapes, and nourishes life. One excites, the other endures. Practice this. Write down one action you can take today that would still matter 10 years from now. Not a burst of passion, but a step of purpose. Then commit to it. Epictetus once said, First say to yourself what you would be, then do what you have to do. So ask yourself, are you chasing sparks that vanish or tending a flame that lasts? Because purpose isn't about applause. It isn't about her approval. It's about building something that matters even if no one is watching. And paradoxically, that's what women trust. The man who doesn't need validation to stay the course. Her chaos steadies when your fire is guided by purpose. 3. Leading without controlling. Many men mistake leadership for control. They think being in charge means barking orders, raising their voice, demanding obedience. But control breeds resistance. Leadership is something else. It's creating an atmosphere where others can finally breathe, where they feel safe enough to stop performing and start trusting. I once saw this truth in the quietest way. At a small train station, an elderly couple stood nearby. The woman was upset, her voice sharp, her bag heavy on her shoulder. Most men would have argued, told her to calm down, or drowned her in logic. But the man beside her did none of that. He simply looked at her, nodded, took the bag from her shoulder, and stood steady. In that gesture, everything shifted. Her posture softened. Her voice lowered. She exhaled. That wasn't dominance. That was direction. That wasn't control. That was clarity. If you see the truth in this, share it forward. Because the world needs more calm leaders, not louder ones. This is what so many men miss. Real leadership isn't overpowering her emotions. It's being the steady frame when she feels like falling apart. Too many men think leadership means shouting, "I'm the captain, now it's game," every 5 minutes. But real leadership is quiet direction, not loud performance. It's calm in the middle of chaos, clarity when the air is thick with confusion, and that kind of presence doesn't need volume. It doesn't need theatrics. It needs composure. Think of it like a compass. A compass doesn't push or pull. It doesn't argue with the traveler. It simply points north, steady, unmoving, no matter how lost the world feels. That's leadership. You hold your ground so she can find hers. Practice this the next time someone close to you spirals, in panic, in fear, and anger. Don't rush to fix it. Don't overwhelm them with solutions. Do one simple thing to steady the moment. A hand on the shoulder, a calm "I'm here," a willingness to wait until the storm settles. And here's the call you can't ignore. When those around you are under pressure, do you add to the chaos or do you anchor the room? Because true leadership isn't about control, it's presence. It's the strength to remain clear when emotions are clouded. And when you embody that, something shifts. Her walls drop. Her storm softens. She trusts, not because you demanded it, but because she felt it. 2. Words that paint worlds. Words can scar, or they can sculpt. And women never forget the difference. Most men underestimate the power of language. They think words are filler, small talk, forgettable noise. But words linger. They dye the memory. Neuroscience shows that emotionally charged language is stored longer, felt deeper. And women especially remember not only what you said, but how your words made them feel. I once listened to a community leader in a crowded hall. He wasn't the loudest, he wasn't the most educated. But when he spoke, people leaned in. His words weren't decorated with drama. They were slow, clear, calm, anchored. Later, a woman said to me, "He didn't just talk. He painted pictures I could step into." That's the power of language rooted in presence, not performance. Most men throw out compliments like cheap flyers on the street, eager, empty, easily ignored. I've also said dumb lines I thought were charming. Let's just say she didn't laugh at all. Real words are different. They're like letters handwritten in ink. They stay, They echo. That's why clever lines and rehearsed charm always fade. What captivates isn't perfection, it's presence. It's the ability to speak from calm, not fear. When your words are steady, intentional, rooted in clarity, they cut through walls faster than 100 flashy compliments. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." In the same way, her mind becomes dyed with the color of your words. So ask yourself, are your words painting a world she wants to live in, or just passing through like smoke? Practice this. In your next important conversation, drip away the performance. Drop the filler. Say one line that carries depth and then stop. Notice the silence after. That silence is proof your words landed. Never forget, sometimes one honest sentence is enough to carry someone through a storm. Don't underestimate how much light even a small word can bring. Because in the end, her chaos doesn't dissolve because of empty talk. It softens when your words become steady ground. 1. The strength to walk away. Every man will face this test, the moment when clinging feels safer but letting go is the only path to freedom. Most men fail here. They stay where they are not valued. They beg for scraps of attention. They keep proving, explaining, hoping. But the man who learns to walk away, that man becomes untouchable. Some men hold on like collectors hoarding broken toys, afraid to throw away what no longer works. But life is not a garage sale. You are not meant to store what diminishes you. I once knew a young man in his 30s who fell hard for a woman who lit up every room she entered. She was confident, magnetic, used to having men orbit around her. At first, he did what most men do. He gave too much. Constant texts, endless compliments, reshaping his life just to keep her close. And the more he gave, the colder she grew. She tested him, pushed, pulled away to see if he would chase. And for a while he did, until one evening he stopped. Calmly he told her, "I want you, but I will not beg for you." Then he turned and walked away. Something changed. Days later she came back. Not because of fear, not because of games, but because she realized she could not control him. His willingness to walk created the respect his chasing had destroyed. Clinging looks like love, but it's just fear wearing perfume. That is the paradox most men never grasp. Walking away is not loss. It is strength. It declares, "I am whole with or without your approval." That strength cannot be ignored. Women may test it, society may challenge it, but nothing is more magnetic than a man who refuses to be trapped. Think of it like a fortress. A fortress doesn't beg travelers to enter. It stands firm, unshaken. Those who seek shelter will step inside. Those who don't will pass by, and still the fortress remains. The next time you feel yourself clinging, stop, ask, does this serve my dignity or does it drain it? If you cannot answer with pride, walk, not in anger, not in drama. Walk with calm, walk with clarity, because sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all, only the sound of your footsteps moving away. Her chaos ends when you walk away unshaken. Her chaos dies in your calm. You've just walked through 9 truths, each one not just exposing her patterns, but holding up a mirror to your own. And if you felt resistance along the way, that's good. Growth always starts in the places you least want to face. Because this was never about controlling women. It was about reclaiming yourself. The moment you stop chasing approval, stop drowning in noise, stop begging for scraps of attention, you finally stand in your own ground. And here's the paradox that will follow you long after this ends. The more you release the need to be chosen, the more unforgettable you become. So let the others scramble for validation. Let them overshare, overpromise, and collapse under the weight of their own noise. You will walk differently now. You will carry silence that steadies, words that carve deep, presence that anchors. And when the storm rises, and it always does, remember the line that has echoed through every chapter. Your calm is not just protection, it is power. Carry it into every room you enter. If these words struck something inside you, pause here. Press like not for me, but as a promise to yourself. Share this with the men who need it most, and subscribe if you are ready to rise with calm instead of chaos.